posts, and everybody should know that this amazing Frank King is here. He'll never come back again if we've only got 9 people, right? All right, it did make it out, so people should be coming in.
Yes, I'm never coming back. Never, ever, ever.
But we are all speakers, so we are all your target audience. So
Well,
hopefully
you
we
know
can.
what? It's like comedy and speaking. I don't care how many bodies are there, as long as they're sitting close together, elbow to elbow, butt cheek to butt cheek, it's going to be a good show.
And as long as we give you good reactions.
Yeah.
So,
Turn on a second. We're in a motel room. The lighting is not the best.
oh, we're road warriors too. We understand.
Yeah. Somebody asked me one time, I was in a home to suite and I didn't have my background on. And they go, "Is that a virtual background?" Yeah, I got the hotel virtual background. It cost me $50, but that way I give the impression I'm working.
That's awesome. Oh. If anybody wants the Star Marketing Summit virtual background, I'll share that and give everybody just one more moment to come on in and see where is it here.
Here we are in the motel.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's not bad.
No, it's not. It's a home to suite. It's a Hilton property. It's not bad.
Yeah. So where do you live in California?
No, I got a San Diego telephone number, but we live
Oh,
just outside of Eugene, Oregon. We lived in San Diego off and on 11 years. Started comedy there. Met my wife there in
and
the
so where are
grocery
you
store.
traveling to if we can ask?
I'm in Las Vegas at JVX. It's a joint venture conference with Kimberly Crow and Jennifer Tagagi, and then going to New York. The 10th of October is International Mental Health Awareness Day. I'm doing a gala, doing 10 minutes in a gala with about 11 other entertainers on the Upper West Side. And the next night, myself and a guy named Ronnie Tsunami, uh, we're doing a 90-minute comedy and music show called Mixed Nuts and Margaritas.
And where's that?
That's across the street in New York. Both of them are going to be in New York City.
All right. Yeah. So
And then
comedy is
home.
a good is
Again.
a, yeah, comedy that comedy and speaking mix is beautiful, so that's why
Thank
people
you.
love you, I'm sure.
And then next weekend, Seattle, actually Monroe, Washington, for my 11th TEDx talk.
So what day of the week that is next week, you said?
14 October, it's a Saturday. It's Monroe, Washington, which is in the Seattle metro area. And it's my 14th, not 14th, my 11th TEDx talk.
Wow, very nice. All right. So we know we are in the right place, and then we have the right person sharing with us. Frank King came once and talked about TEDx Talks. And if you're interested in those, he's super casual, as you can see, and happy to answer questions.
Yep.
Lately, he has been doing, I think, a lot of some groups on making money speaking in general, because just because you've had a TED Talk doesn't mean you're making speaking.
That's true.
Those are both good things, but yeah.
Absolutely true.
So, just to give you a sense, what we have here are people who have been contract trainers. So they do like the cheap rate day trainings. We have people who are coaches and consultants. And we have a lot of people who have full-time jobs, who are also doing some speaking, training, coaching, and consulting. And looks like my email blast is causing people to join. So people will be coming in as you go forward. You've come in just at the right time, Kristen and Anne. We have the somewhat famous in certain circles,
Yeah, right.
Frank.
Very small circles. Very small circles. We're still on?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to you.
Oh, or no.
Oh, do you want to change your background back to the fan to the
No. I was
the
looking at
dark?
my the Beacons my little make money. I mean, what do you call it? The Beacons link tree. Because I thought I put the link tree link in the
Oh yeah,
chat so that if anybody just wants to, continue the conversation, as they say.
awesome.
Yes. Hang on one second. Okay, my pages. Where
Okay,
is
so
my?
as he's doing that, everybody knowing that Frank is doing his 11th TEDx talk on the 14th, and that he is a comedian and speaker, and he coaches people on how to make money speaking and how to land TEDx talks. If any of you has a question for Frank, something that you would like to make sure he addresses, do be thinking about those and sharing those in the chat.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I was going to start that way. I was going to ask, since I'd like to make sure that I cover all the topics that anyone has any questions about. Let's start with, if you have a specific question or something you want to cover for sure, put it in the chat. That way we will cover it. And there's my link tree if you need to get hold of me for any other reason. All righty. So yeah, let's see. Let me go back to the chat. Apparently nobody's got any questions. Well, that's good. So we have a lot of trainers, did you say?
So it's a combination of trainers, coaches, consultants. Yeah.
I've never met a trainer, coach, consultant who didn't want a keynote, because training, coaching, consulting, that's a lot of time involved, you know? And keynoting is 45 minutes, probably the same amount of money. So that's why I had a trainer one time say to me, I've never done much speaking. I said, wait a minute, you're a trainer. Are you training in mime? That's right. I think if you've been training, you've been speaking, dude. Come on. Okay. Sherry Brindle posted a question. Thank you, Sherry. Is my understanding that TEDx is about having an idea, not about being a speaker? Oh yeah, man, they are foursquare against professional speakers. What they call them, circuit speakers. They don't want professional speakers. They want ordinary people with an extraordinary idea. Now, the good news is that the TEDx organization, the TED organization, doesn't decide who speaks at the TEDx, the local selection committee. You know, the X in TEDx means the local. So it is up to the local selection committee to decide. And, you know, I've done 10, I'm going to do 11. I didn't make any, I didn't make a secret what I do for a living. They like my topic. They like my title and subtitle. They book it. So be aware that the TED organization officially does not like professional speakers. They don't like motivational speakers. Yeah. Or personal development speakers. And I've got clients who I've gotten TEDx's for who are those things. You just have to be careful when you're filling out the application to make sure that you are, you don't cover up the fact that you're a motivational speaker, but you pitch it in such a way, what do they call it? Hiding the vegetables. You pitch it in such a way that it doesn't sound like a motivational speech. So it's, and by the way, TED used to be up to 18 minutes. Now it's not official, but they're pushing the TEDx local organizers, keep it 8 to 12 minutes, shorter speeches, bigger impact. I did one in July that was 10 minutes. The one I'm doing October 14th, 7 minutes. And Mark Twain once said, when somebody said to him, we'd like you to come speak. He said, great. How much time would you like me to do? The guy said 10 minutes. Mark Twain said, I need a month. A month? Yeah, if you want me to speak for an hour, I can do that tomorrow. 10 minutes, it's going to take some time to edit. So that's what I do with my clients. We spend a great deal of time editing. I've got a client who is doing it's a TEDx competitor called Speak Event. If you go to speakeventsingular.com, it's a 6 to 10 minute storytelling platform. The guy who organized it used to be the organizer for TEDx Farmingdale, got tired of the BS with TEDx. And so he thought, I can do this better. And one of my clients is doing, two of my clients are doing an event in November themed shelter. And what I tell my clients is, look, hers is good, 6 minutes. All she gets is 6 minutes. I said, don't write a 6 minute speech. Write a speech, which she did, came out about 12 minutes. And then we'll figure out a way to get it back down to 6, because I don't want to cramp your creative style by trying to write a 6 minute talk. Write a 12 minute talk or an 18 minute talk. Then we can pare it back to the 6 minutes. So basically I had to cut it in half for, and here's what you want to hear as an editor. I can't tell what you cut out. Perfect. It means it didn't need to be there. So that's TEDx these days. And by the way, they also unofficially but announced that if you have 4 TEDx talks and you do a 5th, they're not guaranteeing they will post it on YouTube. And that's what happened to me a number of years ago. I'd done 4, and then I did my 5th, and they didn't like that. And it's the only TEDx I've ever gotten that standing ovation for. And I didn't even have to audition for the TEDx. If your title, subtitle, idea is good enough, that's happened twice. It's called Mental Health and the Orgasm. Treat your depression single-handed. Yeah, I love my iPhone, but it's my second favorite handheld device. And I got it without the audition, and I rocked it. I don't. Nobody else that day got a standing ovation, and it broke my heart because it was so good, and I put so much effort into it, and they wouldn't post it, and all I had was stills. They wouldn't give me any video, so what I do now. You know what the workaround is? Here's the workaround. When I do a TEDx now, I donate a videographer to the event. They record the entire thing, turn over all the raw footage to the committee, so everybody's TEDx has an additional camera angle, but I have a bootleg copy that I can use to slice and dice, and I can't put it on YouTube, but I can put it on Vimeo, a non-public facing site, and use it in my marketing. So that's my workaround, because they don't like me much. Okay, speakevent.com, correct. And they, like I said, 6 to 10 minutes of storytelling. Here's the way the storytelling goes. And by the way, they like professional speakers. They don't mind motivational speakers, but they don't want a motivational speech. They want a story that's motivational. And they divide it into 3 pieces. The first third is the truth, your hero or heroine's journey. The second part is transformation, your rise from the ashes. And then the last part they call impact, where they wanted to hit hard at the end. So it's truth, transformation, impact, 6 to 10 minutes. And so far all of them have been in New York, because that's where they're based, except one this weekend is in Belfast, Ireland. I don't know, how that happened, but they're in Belfast, recording. They're hoping to be countrywide and worldwide before too long. Anybody else question before we dive in? So Sherry, I talk about landing and leveraging a TEDx. You know this. I'm looking for my 6 things you can do to kill your chances of landing a TEDx.
I liked where you were starting, because you said if you do any of the things that we do, you speak. And I don't think most of us have a keynote. I think most of us have a training that we do. We have a workshop that we do. We have a little talk that we do to market our coaching. But I don't think any of us genuinely has that story, that 6-minute story that's good enough or whatever. So definitely the TEDx is super interesting to everybody. Definitely leveraging some of your, we all have videos like you described. We all have tons of that we're not doing anything with. So anything you can share will be so great for this group.
Okay. So as I said, I've never met a coach, consultant, and trainer who didn't want a keynote, because let's face it, instead of having to do 4 hours or 8 hours, half day or full day, you do 45 minutes, they hand you a check. I mean, I'm a comedian. I've got no work ethic. 45-minute, work day is perfect for me. Actually, and oftentimes, if the client pushes back on my fee for the keynote, wow, it's a lot of money for 45 minutes. Well, you have me for the whole calendar day. And this is where coaches, training, and consultants, you may have another program, chances are you do, that you could do as a workshop, breakout, or concurrent session in the afternoon. So rather than lower your fee, say, well, listen, I'll do the keynote in the morning and I'll do a workshop on this, or a concurrent session on that in the afternoon. So you've gone from being an expensive keynoter to somebody who's covering 2 speaking slots for 1 fee. Now you're a bargain. So I always tell my coaching, consulting, training clients, don't throw anything out. Chances are you can use it as a way to keep your fee the same, but give them more value. So here's the deal. I recommend a book if you want a keynote. It's a book that I used when I went from comedian, funny speaker, to speaker who is funny. It's by Judy Carter, Carter, Judy Carter. It's called The Message of You. The Message of You. And the subtitle, and I've never heard a better one or more accurate, is How to Turn Your Life into a Money-Making Speaking Career. So, The Message of You. And I went into it thinking I've got nothing to teach anybody. I've been doing stand-up. I've always wanted to make a difference, but I have no idea what I would teach anyone. Halfway through, it hit me. I do have something. She walks you, almost holds your hand, fill in the blank, to your heart story, she calls it, the one you cannot help but tell. Mine is I speak on one thing, and more on that in a minute: suicide prevention as a workplace health and safety priority. And people ask me, well, why'd you pick suicide as a topic? Well, actually, the topic picked me. Depression and suicide run in my family. It's called generational depression and suicide. My grandmother died by suicide. My mother found her. My great aunt died by suicide. My mother and I found her. I was 4 years old. I screamed for days. And if you're already hardwired for depression and suicide, and you're that close to an actual suicide, and if you want to hear the story, it's in my first TEDx talk, A Matter of Laugh, L-A-U-G-H, A Matter of Laugh or Death. It's too gruesome to tell here. It's horror movie horrible. I screamed for days. If you're that close to a suicide, when you see the story or hear it on YouTube, you'll go, well, you can't get much closer. The chances of you seriously considering taking your life later in life go up. And that's what happened in April 2010. My wife and I had filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy in the last recession, lost everything, and it was destroying her. And I had $1 million life insurance policy. I thought, I can fix this. So I can literally tell you what the barrel of my gun tastes like. So that's why I speak on suicide prevention. And that and the fact that there are more nuts in my family than in a squirrel turd. So it's in my DNA. The flip side of that is funny is also in my DNA. My entire family is very funny. So it's kind of a blessing and a curse. Anyway, that's how I chose what to speak on. But Judy's book is really that's how I figured out what my heart story was. What's the one story I want to tell? What's the one story that will make a difference to somebody or lots of somebodies? My goal is to save a life a day from suicide. And I'm sure I've impacted people that I'll never hear from. And some DM me or text me or email me and tell me, that I helped. But so I would recommend The Message of You. Now, a keynote is good. A humorous keynote is even more bookable. People often type in motivational speaker funny or motivational speaker humorous in their searches. So my advice is Judy has another book because she's a comic magician since she was 8 years old. She used to do neighborhood shows at birthday parties. And she wrote a book called The New Comedy Bible. The New Comedy Bible. It's not about joke writing. It's about taking your stories, your actual stories, and making them funny. So they're yours, not jokes. Nobody can say you took that joke, you stole that joke. They're your stories. She helps you make them funny. Again, very formulaic. She takes you by the hand. And give you an example. She says, okay, today's exercise is, give me a 30-minute brain dump. Start as far back as you can remember your first memories. And just dump it on the page going forward. So I did. And those are the premises. And one of the premises was that I grew up in a neighborhood. It was me and 11 girls. So I never played Little League Baseball because I didn't know it existed. Because back then, girls didn't play Little League Baseball. We played horses. The problem with that is, when you get to junior high school, you realize there is no equestrian team. Joke one. One guy and 11 girls, and back in the 60s, the guy was usually the doctor. So if you played doctor, with one doctor and 11 patients, it was more like playing HMO. So that's the kind of thing my actual experiences turned. And she, again, it's one of the things where she says, answer these 4 questions about that experience, and you'll find the punchline. So the New Comedy Bible. So if you're going to do a keynote, I would do the keynote, and then I'd circle back and read Judy's book. And it doesn't have to be comedy club funny. In a comedy club, you're looking to laugh every 9 to 12 seconds. In a keynote speech, every couple of minutes, just keep the audience a little off balance. In my TEDx talks, and they're all on mental health, very serious topic, but there's always some humor. In my first one, I said my research. I went to TED.com to see how other people handle the topic of suicide, figuring there would be, 2-3 dozen talks on suicide. There were, in fact, 3 talks on suicide. And I said to the audience, then it hit me. Well, if you're really good at suicide, chances are you're not going to be recording a TEDx talk. At which point they realized this is going to be different. And people ask me, does comedy keep you from getting booked? That comedic element in suicide prevention speaking keep you from getting booked? No, the reverse is true. They want the lived experience, which is what I have, They want the training, but if I can leaven it with some well-placed, organic, tasteful, not jokes, but funny anecdotes, that's what pushes me over the top, because it's difficult to digest all that serious information without a little something, to break up the. As a matter of fact, there's a psychological principle. You tell somebody something serious, and then you do a little comic relief, their brains are much more receptive to the next serious piece. So I salt and peppered the humor through the talk. And I believe, as a keynote speaker, you should move the audience from pole to pole, from tears to laughter, to tears to laughter. And that's what I try to do, is move them emotionally. As someone once said, they won't remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. So I would, again, a good reason to get Judy's book. And laughter is an emotion. If you can just make them laugh, you've moved them to an emotion, and they're more likely to remember what you had to say. Let's see. And then tied to that. So Judy Carter's book, message you, Judy Carter's book. Oh, so you said, Frank, I don't have a keynote speech. Well, November 9 through 12, we have keynote camp. So if you have any interest in having a keynote, writing a keynote in 2.5 days, holler at me. That's that. We did one in Chicago. Kimberly Crow and I did. That's 6 people, all came in without a keynote, all left 2.5 days later with a keynote. And here's how we started off. I said to the group, answer me this question. What problem do you want to solve? What one problem, just one, do you want to solve? Because most people who speak, train, coach, consult, they can talk on a number of things. They can coach on a number of things, train on, consult. But I believe in speaking, it's very important to pick a lane, a single lane. So I asked them, what is the problem you want to solve? And once they figured that out, second question. Okay, now, who has that problem that would be willing to pay you to help solve it? Because I don't care how good your keynote is. If you're not helping solve a problem, if you're not hitting a pain point, it doesn't matter how good the keynote is, they're not going to book you, because the meeting planner cares about the return on investment for their audience. What's the ROI for booking you for my audience? So pick a problem, figure out 3 to 6 groups, industries, whatever, that have that problem that you can help solve. And 3, what associations do those people belong to? Because you hear speakers, coaches, consultants, trainers often say, who's your target market? Who's your ideal clients? Entrepreneurs. Well, that would be great if there was an entrepreneurial conference every year in every state. But that's not, entrepreneurs, I'm sure there are entrepreneurial conferences. But so if you're my client, I would say, well, let's think about this. Entrepreneurs. How about this? Insurance agents, most of them entrepreneurs. And there are 2 large national associations of independent agents and 50 state chapters for each. So that's 102 possible speaking gigs. Realtors are entrepreneurs oftentimes. And I have no idea how many boards of real estate there are in the country, state, local, county. And financial services. People work for Edward Jones or similar, certified financial planners. Oftentimes, even though they're on payroll or might be on commission, or a combination of both, they are entrepreneurs. So that question number 3, what associations? As I mentioned with the insurance agents, there's 2 insurance agent associations. Realtors, the board of realtors. And financial services, there are a goodly number of conferences that people who work in financial services go to. The reason you do that is we want you to get paid for your keynote. And I say start at $5,000 plus travel. Make that your bottom line. Make that retail. Anybody ever ask you, how much do you charge for a keynote? $5,000 plus travel. I want you to get $5,000, but I want you speaking to a target-rich audience. So if insurance agents are a target for you, and you're in a room full of target markets, a target-rich environment, insurance agents, and you're essentially getting paid to showcase, what you do. So you get a paycheck regardless, but you're trying to pick up some additional business from the audience. And not just speaking business. If you're a coach, consultant, or trainer, you want to make sure that you mention that in your introduction. So if they want to hire a speaker, great. If they want to hire a coach or consultant or a trainer, they know before you open your mouth that you do those things. So it's a way of selling without selling. And nowadays, what I would do is a software called Talkadot, Talkadot, Talkadot. It's a QR code. You put it in your PowerPoint about 10 minutes before you finish up. And you also put a promo code. And you tell people this is a survey. And if you take the survey and use the promo code, you get this freebie. In my case, I give away an unabridged audiobook version of my first book on men's mental health. So if they go and take the survey and put in 988, which is Suicide Prevention Lifeline number, they get a free MP3 download, unabridged, of my first audiobook, first book in their 4-book series on men's mental health. And the survey. And one of the first questions on the survey is, do you have an event that you think you might like to book Frank King for? You can also, it walks them through, there's a spot where they can leave testimonials and a variety of other questions. And you can manipulate the questions. You can pull ones out. And when you're done, all this goes into the software. And then you go back in the next day and you see how you did. And let's say things went well and you got some really sweet testimonials. You can cherry pick those and forward them to the meeting planner to show the meeting planner, how much the audience enjoyed your presence. So it's Talkadot. It's a great way, again, to sell without selling. You're just giving them a way to get in touch with you and to indicate they may have some interest. It's a Talkadot. I've used it once and I was amazed. And the guy who created it, 2 guys, both speakers, very customer service friendly. After I did the talk, because you put in where you're doing the talk, so forth, then the date. The next day, he sent me an email. Man, I looked at your numbers. They're great. Everybody who filled out the form said they'd love to hear you speak again. He went in after I did my talk and took a look to make sure that, that A, I put it up, B, it went well. And I think, and they have once a week, they have an hour-long session on using the Talkadot. How do you put your social media in there? How do you change the questions around to suit your, what it is you're doing? So yeah, very, very customer service friendly. So, problem, who has it? Willing to pay for it? What are their associations? Now, the pushback I get on those 3 questions from speakers, coaches, trainers, consultants, but I can speak on so many things. If I pick a lane, aren't I giving up income in those other lanes? Yes, you are. It's the only thing I remember from my economics classes at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. 2 words, economic cost. If you pick a lane, you are not picking the others. You are saying, now you remember I mentioned don't throw them out because you could use them as a concurrent session or workshop or whatever in the afternoon. But you are definitely losing income in those lanes. But nowadays, it seems to me that meeting planners want the expert or thought leader. The person, that's what they do. That's all they do. So when you go to my website, Mental Health Comedian, mentalhealthcomedian.com, all it screams is suicide prevention. Nothing on there about coaching TEDx, nothing on coaching money, making money speaking on cruises at colleges, corporations, associations, nothing but suicide prevention. And I took it a step farther. I have landing pages for each industry. mentalhealthcomedian.com/agriculture. So if somebody types in suicide prevention speaker, agriculture, good chance my page will come up because those keywords are there. And when they land there, they don't see that I speak to dentists, veterinarians, attorneys, physicians. All they see is I'm an agriculture suicide prevention speaker. And that's exactly what they're looking for. I did a group of osteopaths one time. I said, how'd you find me? She goes, Frank, on a whim. I typed in suicide prevention speaker, osteopath, thinking, what are the odds? Boom! You came up because I had a /osteopath. So, yes, you will, in the short run, lose money by only offering one thing. But in the long run, and my goal for my students, my clients, coaching clients, is that in the long run, you're no longer a commodity in the speaking business. You're no longer just another speaker with a half dozen things they can talk about. When they come looking for your one topic, they eventually come looking specifically for you. That's our goal. I've had it happen half dozen times in the last 9 years. Doesn't happen all the time, but slowly but surely you build your reputation in that lane and in those industries. In September, I did an engagement, NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness, Southwest Washington. Woman called me. She'd just become executive director. I said, why me? Frank, I saw you speak 3 times in the last couple of years. This is my first event as an executive director, and I want it to be spectacular, and I don't want anybody but you to be the keynote. Then she asked me what I charge. And I said, are you sitting down? And she said, yeah, $7,500 plus travel. She goes, I don't care. I want you, I'll get a grant. And she did. That's what you're after, where they don't just want any speaker on your topic. They want you. It only happens every now and then, but when it does, it's awfully sweet. Your LinkedIn profile. I was conversing the other morning with a guy. He found me on LinkedIn. I've got a huge presence on LinkedIn. Thanks to my LinkedIn marketing company. And I usually, when somebody DMs me, I usually take a look at their profile. And so I looked at his profile. In his profile description, he mentions 7 things that he does. I said, man, you have 7 things in your profile you do. And he wrote back, what should I do? What should I change? What are you recommending? Lose 6 of them. Pick one. My belief is go deep, not wide, that the riches are in the niches. And so he has since then, I said, pick the one you're most passionate about. Pick the one that you really enjoy talking about. Don't throw the others out. You could use them for breakouts, workshops, concurrent sessions, but pick one. If you go to my LinkedIn profile right now, Frank King, comedian, you'll notice that the first sentence in my profile is about me. World record 11 TEDx talks and whatever coach, period. Everything else in the profile is about my clients. The next line is, do you want to make money speaking on cruises at colleges or corporations, associations? Do you want to make a living speaking and a difference? Period. So the first sentence is about me. The next 2 sentences or 3 sentences are about what they want. I want them nodding as they're reading it. Yes, I do want to speak. Yes, I do want to make a difference. Yeah, not because, people tend to in their profile, sing their own praises. Take the first line and do that. And the rest of it, make it about them, about what you can do for them. And if you'll notice on my LinkedIn profile, there's no mention of suicide prevention speaking. It's all make money speaking. All my posts are make money speaking. My 2 newsletters a month, make money speaking. And by the way, the posts and the newsletters, no selling. I don't sell anything. It's strictly educational. Every post is another tip or 2 on how to make money speaking on cruises or at colleges, corporations, associations. Newsletters, same thing. Just more information on education on how you make money speaking. There's a lead magnet you can get if you give me an email address, and there's a link to my calendar if you want to chat, but there's no sales pitch. The idea being is, it's an old radio axiom, be known before you're needed. Be on LinkedIn every day, educating. So when they decide they want to make a living speaking, I'm top of mind, we hope. That's how radio works. That's the power of terrestrial radio. Think about this. You're driving to work, same time every day. You hear the same tire store commercial every day. Well, in radio, they say only 3% of the people in the car that day listening to that tire store commercial are going to need a tire that day. But they're in a car. At some point, the other 97% are going to need a tire. And you want to be top of mind when that tire blows. That's frequency. That's the power of radio is frequency, over and over and over. And LinkedIn, same thing. 5 posts a week, 2 video posts, Monday, Wednesday, 3 text posts, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. All education. 2 newsletters a week. 2 newsletters a month. And because I have a singular focus on make money speaking, and because when I connect with somebody, they have the word speaker in their profile, I've got 7 or 8,000 people, first connections with the word speaker in their profile. Since I did that, since the time I launched that newsletter in the middle of April, I'm averaging about 800 or 900 new subscribers a month. I'm over 4,100 now. And the great thing about newsletters with LinkedIn, A, they love them because you're a content creator and they actually help you promote them. You won't see it on the surface, but it's going on behind the surface. B, it appears as a newsletter in your timeline, but it also, LinkedIn sends every subscriber an email. Hey, Frank just published another newsletter. So you get double the value, get it in your timeline. Happen to miss that, all your subscribers get an email. So, and it's free. They don't charge you anything to do. You have to turn on the creator mode in your LinkedIn profile. And one of the things they allow you to do besides LinkedIn Live and this and that is a LinkedIn newsletter. And I'd recommend a couple times a month. Again, strictly education. Just teach them something every time. It's the idea of giving value first with no expectation of return. So that when they decide they want what you have, or somebody want what you have from somebody, that you are hopefully top of mind. And you know, I get my discovery calls from that. People hit the calendar link. You know, they grab the freebie, the lead magnet, hit the calendar link, and if they're interested in making money speaking, then you know we do a discovery call, and it's the last 25 months, about $90,000 in coaching fees, and I spent about $55,000 on my LinkedIn marketing between the subscription and a VA for 3 hours a day to handle the engagement. There's no way I could keep up. Most of my posts, 1,000 impressions or better, some even better than that. All thanks to my LinkedIn marketing. By the way, LinkedIn marketing company, and this is not an affiliate thing for me. Clout, C-L-O-U-T, Clout Selling, S-E-L-L-I-N-G. Like he's got clout or she's got clout. Cloutselling.com. Mike Weiss, W-E-I-S-S, Mike Weiss. It's worth a discovery call if you'd like. And by the way, speaking of going deep, not wide, when I met Mike, I'd already been thinking I'm doing a poor job on 5 social media platforms. Why don't I pick one and go deep? And Mike sent me just randomly, I guess, something in my algorithm found something in my profile that it liked. And Mike and I set up an appointment. I talked to him for half an hour, and I thought, man, you came along just the right time. I'm going deep. So I still have Facebook and Instagram. And then what I do is I post any podcast appearance, I post all over those. But that's it. Nothing else. All my efforts, all my marketing money, all into LinkedIn. It's business to business. I love funny cat videos, but LinkedIn is business to business. And so I'm deep, not wide on LinkedIn. And it's paid other benefits. LinkedIn called me one day, the company, LinkedIn. And I got to tell you, I didn't think LinkedIn had a phone. Because you ever try to call a social media guy? So I pick up the phone. She goes, "This is so-and-so at LinkedIn." I said, "You got a phone?" She laughs. She goes, "We're doing an article on how to become a keynote speaker." We, as in LinkedIn, is doing an article. Would you like to contribute? Yeah. Because of all the engagement that I'm getting. The algorithm sees those 1,000 views and the 2 newsletters a month and the 5 posts a week. And, you know, and if you're getting 1,000 impressions on your posts, LinkedIn's algorithm saying this must be interesting stuff. So, and 2 TEDx talks reached out to me simply to suggest speakers for them, my clients. And each of the 2 TED talks took 2 of my speakers. And then a TEDx talk in India, because LinkedIn has a big profile, India and China, reached out to me and said, "We like your take on mental health. Would you be willing to do a virtual TEDx for us in the state of Assam here in India?" Oh, yeah, absolutely. So there are ancillary benefits besides just sales on LinkedIn. You know, it's good that I did. There's an NPR, no, OPV. OPV is Oregon Public Television. There's one in Queens, New York, Queens New York Public Television. They found me on LinkedIn. They were doing a series on teen suicide. Would I be willing to do a 45-minute feature in the series? Would I? They found me on LinkedIn. So can you tell I'm a big fan of LinkedIn? I think it's where business people need to be. Just my opinion. As Dennis Miller used to say, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. So pick a problem. Who's got it? What are their associations? Make that your lane. Become the expert or thought leader, the person that people go to, think of when that topic comes up. So you're not just a commodity in the speaking business. And no side hustles. I get pitched all the time for, it's passive income, just a couple hours a week. Well, every hour a week I spent on this passive income is 2 hours a week or an hour a week that I'm not marketing in my lane. So I always turn them down. I go, I got no interest. I do one thing, I do it well, I get paid accordingly. So that would be my advice to you but to circle back completely, you're going to need a keynote speech. 45 minutes plus 15 Q&A makes a solid 60 minutes, and that's what the meeting planners look for. And then, you could offer a current session or workshop or whatever in the afternoon if they get, cranky about your fee. Questions? Bye. I'd recommend when you pick your lane, do 2 podcast guest appearances a week in your lane. Kimberly Crow's Speakers Playhouse, first 40 minutes generally is people saying, I've got a podcast. Here's what it's about. I need guests. And I usually get a couple of podcast appearances out of that. Anything with mental health or, overcoming or anything that's a good fit, I'll sign up for and show up for. There's also something called Podcast Guests, plural, podcastguests.com. Sign up, $30 a month, build a profile. They send an email out twice a week, Mondays, Thursdays. And the first item on the email is 10 people looking to be guests. Below that, 10 podcasts looking for guests. So I go through the looking for guest list. And if it fits my topic, then I simple one page, why would you be a good fit for this? Do you have a podcast? How are you going to promote it? And every so often, once every 6 weeks or so, they feature you in that list of 10 people looking to guest at the top of the page. And I usually get 3 or 4 podcast guest appearances that week because, they featured me in the list of people. And you can also do a search. You can do a simple search for your topic and find podcast. You don't have to wait for the email. But that's been very helpful. And I think that helps a lot with the SEO because they post it on their social media. They send you a link and a photograph or image, swipe copy, and you put it on your social media. So you're getting a double hit in the Google sphere. It helps with the SEO so that you come up higher in the searches because you're doing those podcasts. Questions? Sherry, what have I overlooked?
He's awesome. You have questions. What are some things? He's just think about his experience. Don't worry about he's got so much broad experience. Don't worry that your question is off topic. I know you probably have more questions about how much to charge, a lot of it. So yeah, Lisa, thank you.
Yes, the workshop is in we call it Keynoting Camp. It's November 9 through 12, Fort Lauderdale. Not a bad time to be in Lauderdale. Come in the first night, cocktail hour. There'll be drinking. You don't have to drink. Meet and greet, and then 2.5 days. And you can come in without a keynote, and we guarantee by the time you leave, you will have a keynote. And a lot of it is thanks to ChatGPT. What we do in a pre-workshop Zoom is walk you through putting all you can find about you into chat. Any blog posts you've done, your LinkedIn profile, Facebook profile. If you've written a book, turn it into a PDF. You can upload the PDF to that chat. So that when you come, first question we ask Chat is, what would be a good keynote for Sherry based on all of the above? And, it'll spit out a keynote idea. Well, give me 3 more keynote ideas using the information about Sherry above. And once you've chosen, one that's a good fit, all right, now write an outline for a 45-minute keynote on that topic for Sherry. And then, of course, from there we go to now write a 45-minute keynote on that topic. Now give me 5 learning objectives. Okay, now give me 3 action items. All right, now create a marketing email pitching Sherry to give that keynote. Okay, let's create a landing page, a sales page, all using ChatGPT. But we preloaded everything we can find about you. So chat knows a great deal about you when we start. And that's how, that's how you pop out the other side. And then you record it on Zoom and send it to me. I take a look at it. I take notes, make notes. Then we do an hour long, review. And I say, change this, fix this, really like that. And that's the process. And we have a lot of fun. I mean, I don't know if anybody here knows Kimberly Crow, but she says it's not fun. It's not worth doing. And I'm a comedian since the day after Christmas, 1985. So there's going to be funny in it. So that's Keynote Cap. And if you want to know, just hit me up. I just put my beacon as my link tree there in the chat again. Hit me up and I'll send you, the 411 on the Keynote Cap, Keynoting Camp.
All right, Lisa's got her hand up.
Lisa?
Hey, Frank. Hey, Sherry. Thanks for taking my question. So I have spent the last 10 or 12 years building a human resources consulting business.
Oh.
And so I have a really nice membership and so forth. But so now I'm kind of thinking about getting more out into like the keynote world, because I've just been really focusing on my membership. And I do have a virtual group that I meet with twice a month and all of that, right? So in thinking about staying in your lane, so this is kind of where I'm a little torn because I agree with what you're saying, but on my keynote, you said, what's the story of your heart from your heart? And so that would be domestic violence because I endured 12 years of domestic violence, like literally every kind of violence you could think of. I checked the box. And so finally got away, so anyway, it's a big story and it's very touching. And a lot of employers have employees. I mean, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 6 men have endured or are enduring domestic violence. So no matter where you work, if you have any number of employees, you're going to have people that this affects, and they don't like to talk about it. Some laws in the states, require that they give leave and so forth, right? So there's a lot of possibility there to intertwine it with human resources. But my question really is, and sorry for the ramble, but my question really is, since I have this whole compliance-based membership, and we talk about, all things compliance and not a lot about domestic violence, would it be getting out of my lane too much if I wanted my keynote portion to be strictly focused on the topic of domestic violence?
I don't think so. I'm sorry you had to go through 12 years of domestic violence. I have a friend who I went to something similar, and I said, I'll never meet this guy, right? And she said, no. And I said, well, that's a good thing. But it is an HR topic. And if it's not, it should be. It's like suicide. That's not something people like to talk about. But 80% of suicides happen to people between 18 and 65. And where are those people most days between 18 and 65?
At work.
They work that's where it all crosses over. Workplace suicide prevention. That's why I speak on that. So I think you could begin speaking. I mean, definitely one of your target markets would be HR. I would pitch every SHRM, every chapter of SHRM in the country. Some have budgets that can cover your fees. Some don't. Some pay. Some don't. I'm doing one in Savannah, Georgia at the end of the month. I'm doing a 20-minute workshop on suicide prevention in the workplace in hopes that, and they're paying my travel, but they're not. But there are hopefully HR people there who might want me to come in and speak to their company. So I think in your case, I would start with HR, SHRM, and similar. If there is a similar organization, I don't know if there's another one like SHRM. I'm not aware. But then I would branch out to anyone who works with anyone who suffered domestic violence, mental health clinicians, law enforcement, anybody who interacts with people who have been through this, because your knowledge of it, your lived experience is, they may have the technical knowledge or the clinical knowledge, but they don't have your lived experience. So that would be very valuable information for you to share as to how they should handle someone who's going through this. What to say, what not to say, what to do, what not to do. So I think that would be very valuable to anybody who is working with anybody who's living through or lived through domestic violence. Plus the employers, plus HR, because you're right. There are a woman who used to work for a dentist, and he believed that you should leave those problems at the door when you came to work. And
Yeah.
she escaped. She knew that he went in the bathroom every morning to read the newspaper, and he sat on the toilet for a good 30 minutes. So she put super glue on the toilet. So, and had her bag packed, kids ready to go. And as soon as the 30 minutes lapsed and he tried to stand up, she took off with the kids. He had to rip the toilet seat off the toilet to get up, gave her enough time to get out. And that's the story she tells. But her boss didn't, the guy that owned the dental company, the dentist office didn't want to hear about it. Leave those problems at the door. That has nothing to do with us, but it does. So, yeah, I think given your experience, the price you paid, that hard-earned experience, I think that would be what you should speak on, and speak on it to HR, since that's where you're living now, but also law enforcement, any sort of clinician that's working with people who are living through or have lived through domestic violence.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that clarification.
Yeah, it's here's a story on that subject. I spoke on suicide prevention one day, and a psychologist came up to me afterwards and said to me, "Hi, I'm a psychologist." That's great. He goes, "What qualifies you to speak on suicide prevention?" And I said, "Because I can tell you what the barrel of my gun tastes like." And in the silence that followed, Lisa, I said to him, "Look, I could go to college. I could learn absolutely everything you know. You will never know everything I know. And you're in the same situation. A clinician can give you the clinical whatever, but they will never know everything you know. That is valuable information. And here's the thing, Lisa, let me warn you, if you speak on this, you need to leave 30, 45 minutes after you're done to take individual questions, to hear individual stories, because they'll line up. And they'll probably, when I do my suicide prevention, sometimes 2 people, sometimes 10. And they tell me things, oftentimes they've never told anybody else. Because when I get on stage, and when you get on stage and speak about this out loud, you're giving them permission to give voice to their feelings and experiences without recrimination. So yeah, just want you to make sure you don't book your flight too close to the end of the speech, because you'll need an extra 30, 45 minutes to handle the stories, questions, so forth and so on. And Lisa, I think you need to be speaking on this because you can change and or save lives.
Yeah, that's my hope. Thank you very much. I do appreciate all of that input. Really do.
Yeah, well, if you're brave enough to talk about it, people, you're so brave. Well, yeah, I lived through it. I'm still here. You're still here. I just want to make sure that nobody else has to, I tell a story at the end of and I ad-libbed it into my 4th TEDx talk. I said, mental illness, people don't understand, it's an everyday thing, every morning thing. It's like that story of Sisyphus in Greek mythology. And he was sentenced to rolling a rock up a hill every day. And the gods told him that, if you can get the rock over the top of the hill, you're done. But every time he got the rock near the top of the hill, it rolled back down to the bottom. And having a mental illness is like that. And I imagine domestic abuse is like that in this way. Some days the rock is small and the hill's not so steep. Some days the rock is a boulder and the hill's Kilimanjaro. But every day, whether it's mental illness or intimate partner violence, there's a rock in the hill. And I said to the audience, my job here today is to make sure that when you wake up tomorrow, you can still move the rock. And I ad-libbed it. And I can tell you, people have come up to me since then. Oh, I saw you're talking about Sisyphus. But that, because people who have not been through domestic violence. I'm sure there are a lot of people who are thinking or say out loud, as my mother would say in their infinite wisdom, well, I never would have put up with that. I'd have left. So, yeah, that's easy to say from the safety of the junior league meeting here. Um, it's like people say to me, I would never take an antidepressant. Of course you wouldn't. Why would you take an antidepressant? You've never been depressed. So, yeah, so I think you need to be speaking on that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a quick question, Frank. This has been great. I do the similar thing with teenagers, and I feel like I help teenagers that are going through depression. But I try to cover up my life coaching by talking about creativity, character, positiveness, but I'm afraid to talk about the issue. So what do you recommend that way?
The issue being
Depression in teens.
Oh no, yeah, I know. I would let that lead the parade. Depression and thoughts of suicide.
Okay.
Actually, depression, anxiety, and the last study I saw said that 40% of high school students and 60% of college students self-reported anxiety and co-occurring mental health conditions. It's almost epidemic in high school and college.
I'm actually wanting to go younger, like 12 to 15.
Well, my advice. So that's the problem you want to solve, correct?
Yes.
And the 12 to 15-year-olds have the problem, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the associations, to land that kind of work, you need to figure out who picks the speakers to talk to those kids. My advice would be every state association of principals and superintendents.
Okay.
And also every state association of school administrators.
Okay.
They hold the purse strings. So rather than pitch an individual school district, pitch a room full of superintendents and principals.
Okay.
To again, you get paid for the keynote, but showcase what you're talking about for them with the idea that you could come in. And by the way, speaking of coaching, I work with my ideal clients are speakers, authors, coaches. And when a coach comes to work with me as a client, I go, you're no longer a coach and a speaker. You are a speaker and a coach. Let the speaking lead the parade.
Okay.
Way too many coaches to differentiate yourself from other coaches. Far fewer speakers. But make sure when you have your introduction written and done before you get on, make sure you mention the coaching in your introduction.
Okay.
So they know you do that.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
And then one last question. How do you say whenever people ask you, how do you know about this? Are you a counselor, psychiatrist? And again, I did go through teen depression, and it wasn't discovered till I was in 26 or 25. And people don't understand why I want to work with teenagers.
Well, I think you just have to flat tell them, look, in the mental health business, it's called lived experience. And when I was a teenager, I went through something, dark, and I came out the other side. But nowadays, more and more young people don't come out the other side, and I want to put a stop to that. So what you have to offer is that lived experience. No clinician who's not been depressed,
okay,
can quite understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet.
Well, you say it in this comedic way, like I know the taste of the barrel of my gun. So like finding a way that's like fits your personality to say it in this kind of a way is the real key.
Yes,
Or
because I followed up with I can tell you what the barrel of my gun tastes like. Spoiler alert, I did not pull the trigger, which gets a nervous laugh. People are thinking, should we be laughing at that? And then I followed that up with a friend of mine came up to me after a keynote the other day, and he said, and I quote, "Hey man, how come you didn't pull the trigger?" I said, "Hey man, could you try to sound slightly less disappointed?" That's not jokes, just funny things that actually happened. Guy called me up one day. Sorry, I'm late calling you. I hope I didn't leave you hanging. You want to rephrase that? So yeah, it's just funny, anecdotes, it makes it more digestible, and people get more comfortable around the subject. Other questions, kids? Wanda?
Hello, Frank. I have truly enjoyed what I've heard so far. It's been very, very good. My passion is really career development, and I work with people that's maybe unemployed or underemployed. So, how do I make money at speaking to those that do not have money? They're in career transition. How do I market that, and how do I make money?
Well, the question is, don't want to make money from them speaking. Have to figure out who, what organization. You need an organization. You need to get a gathering of people who paid to come, so they can pay you. So, what sort of advice are you giving career-wise?
How to find your purpose, how to write a resume, interviewing skills, just really how to put together the career portfolio, job leads, things of that nature.
Well, what I would suggest is the college market, because all those kids, unless they're trust fund babies, are going to be looking for work shortly upon graduation. So, and there are two organizations, the National Association of Campus Activities, NACA, NACA, National Association of Campus Activities, and APCA, Association for the Promotion of Campus Activities, APCA. So NACA and APCA, and they both put on 4 showcases a year, 4 regions of the country, and a national showcase. So if you got a college agent, that's your topic. Your college agent would submit you to those showcases. You would go in and do 15 minutes of your presentation. And then the kids come there with their budgets and their advisors, and the young people decide who comes to campus. So I think if there's money to be made, it would be in the college circuit.
Okay, thank you.
And also, and this is not going to cost you anything, there's something called GreekUniversity.org, GreekUniversity.org, and they book speakers only to sororities, fraternities, and athletic departments. So what happens is I would go to GreekUniversity.org. It says something right up front about grab a spot for a phone call. And what the gentleman who runs it, really nice guy, does is he would have you on his podcast, and you would do his podcast. And if he judges from the reaction of his subscribers to the podcast, whether that's a topic that would appeal to fraternities, sororities, and athletic departments. So you can do that. You can do that next week. Line it up, do the podcast, and see if it's a good topic for college kids.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Oh yeah. I am a wealth of knowledge.
Frank, thank you so much for this great information. Just have a quick question. My name is Atala, and I developed a methodology that I truly own, but I'm now trying to just kind of share with not just our community, but with the world. And this is a very simple methodology that I found through going through some of the most difficult life transitions in my life, no? So I understand that emotional healing need to take place in order for you to improve your physical health, productivity, communication, you name it. So I know that I can share like a, medical field, also in schools, because this methodology you can apply in kids, in teenagers, adults, couples, corporations, everywhere, because it really not just increase your productivity, but energy, totally make you feel more alive, you sleep better, and many other benefits. So I'm part of the medical field for 16 years, but also I know that we all carry a lot of emotional baggage that doesn't allow us to go forward, to be productive, to just have a better well-being. Where do you think would be the best way to actually share this methodology?
Well, number one, when you say part of the medical field, what's your training?
Well, I have been working with international patients for the last 16 years. So I'm like practically eyes, hands, everywhere. I try to do my very best to help them to not just like the, schedule, their meetings or with the doctors, so surgeries or tests, not at all. I'm really focused also in helping to reconnect better with themselves, at the moment that they go to surgery, before even surgery, just ask simple questions, like to just kind of redirect their thoughts, to change a little bit the energy, to get connected more with their peace, with their inner strength, with their families. So I have created a lot of different kind of activities that I know works, because they improve not just their well-being, but even sometimes blood pressure, actually oxygen levels. It's amazing. It's a lot of things. 16 years, I've been just tasting different things out of my creativity and for the desire to really help somebody who is in a very, very fragile stage of their life. So I have done this for, my goodness, science visualization boards, music therapy, art therapy. I use whatever is in my mind to help them. And I have seen beautiful, receive beautiful testimonials, all that. But now I say, this methodology, I know I proven in myself, in my life, through going through, for example, the loss of my brother unexpectedly. Somebody took away his life many years ago. Then the kidnapping of my father and his illness, cancer, a divorce, starting in a new country with my son and 2 luggages, custody, many stuff that I know it was hard, but it was a preparation. And I believe that we can all heal emotionally. And
Okay.
so
Part of the problem, part of a problem is there are so many things you can do. And it's the curse of the entrepreneur, because entrepreneurs oftentimes very smart, very talented, and can do very many things. Should they do very many things? Probably not. So here, let's boil it down to a sentence and fill in the blanks for me. When I speak to blank and I teach them blank, then they can blank. My case, when I speak to construction associations and I teach them the signs and symptoms of depression and thoughts of suicide, they can save lives. So if you're going to speak, I believe you need to be able to fill in that simple sentence. When I speak to blank and I teach them blank, then they can blank. So how would you fill in that sentence?
I feel very good. The thing is, like, for example, it's interesting. Recently, somebody went through custody. So they call me, and I understand the cycle of going through custody after many years of being taking care of yourself for many years. So I have a lot of empathy for that. The methodology actually has that ingredient, besides so many others that I learned.
Okay, stop.
Mm-hmm.
You're explaining what you do and how you do it. What I want is, if you can, fill in the blank. When I speak to a group, whatever the group is, about one thing, then they can, what can they do after they hear you speak they couldn't do before they heard you speak? So when I speak to blank, about blank, then they can blank.
I think I understood. One of the things for me, like when people are moving in a lot of fear, that touched my heart.
Okay, stop. That's all very interesting, and please forgive me for being blunt, but until you can fill in the blanks in that sentence, it's that simple sentence. And because people will say to you, and people say to me, tell me about yourself. I'm the mental health comedian, which generates a question. Oh, what does that do? I speak on suicide prevention as a workplace health and safety issue. Period. So what your homework is boil all that down into, I am a suicide prevention speaker. Period. So you need to boil that down to, I am a Brazilian speaker. I am a customer service speaker. But the easy way to do it, is for you, fill in the blank. When I speak to blank about blank, one thing, they can blank. So that would be your homework, because you have years of knowledge, years of experience. But the trick is to boil it down to, because you're going to have to put whatever that is on one page on a website, one thing on a website. So that would be your homework.
I would do it for sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah, yes, not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. Yeah,
No.
that's a problem for speakers. You know, I can talk about this, I can talk about that. They're passionate about all these things. So,
Yeah, but you're right. I will narrow down. Thank you very much.
you bet.
You are the perfect speaker for this group and so much fun. And I appreciate you're just so transparent. And Frank is also just incredibly reluctant to market himself in any way, but he does work with coaching speakers and groups to write their keynotes, to land TEDx talks, to market their speaking, all of it. So can you make sure and put that little link in one more time? And I even followed it, and it's still kind of hard to get like just the details of the November 9th through 12th keynote thing. So you like to talk to people, it sounds like. You don't like to just have people read about you and click a link and find out more. You
Oh,
like
no.
people
Hold
to
on.
click.
Yeah,
Okay.
Kimberly Crow would kill me if I didn't put a link to Keynote Camp in the.
Okay.
Well, you didn't put a link to Keynote Camp? What are you kidding me?
Good.
Yeah, let's see. Keynote Camp. Let's see. Where is Kimberly? Hang on, let me do a little search here. And again, we did it in Chicago in the summertime. It was lovely. At 6 students. It was sort of our beta test. You know, see if it would work and see if we'd have fun, because Kimberly's all about, you know, if it's not fun, we're not gonna. She didn't do it. Keynoting camp. Let's see. Let's see. Hold on. And we realized, Kimberly and I did, that all of her clientele are speakers. And we thought to ourselves, now what is the one thing that the majority of them might be missing? And we realized, duh, it's a keynote. Because the keynote is your inventory. Unless you have, you know, a keynote, you have no inventory. Let's see, keynoting.
So you guys were just presuming everyone already had that, just because
Yes.
maybe you did, right?
Yeah, well, and you know, we also, when you go to the Speakers Playhouse, they always ask, "What's your speech? What's your name? What's your speech? Who's your ideal clients?" And we kept hearing from, you know, it's entrepreneurs, it's women going through menopause, it's you know, and which would be great if there was like a convention of women going through menopause every year, but unfortunately, there's not. So we realized we needed to, like that last lovely young lady, we needed to help them focus on, you know, to narrow down what they were offering, because it's again, I believe you need to be the expert or thought leader. Let's see, let's make sure this is going to work. All right. Matter of fact, I'll put a second link in here in a second. There's the chat. We also have something called the keynoting. Let's see. Please, Lord, tell me that pops up. Can you hit that, Sherry, and see if it pops up with the landing page for the keynote camp?
Yes, there it is.
Okay, and we're also starting Monday. We're going to do, I think it's keynoting camp cash challenge, 5-day challenge. And each day is going to be a question. This is not going to surprise you. First day, first question. Okay, what problem do you want to solve? So the questions are relatively easy. The second day is, okay, who has that problem is willing to pay you. So it's just a five-day, relatively easy to prepare people for the keynoting camp. Let's see if I can find the link. Maybe it's the other one. I have too many Gmail accounts. Here we go. Share with you Keynote Cash. Oh, that's the Keynote Cash Quick Start Challenge. That's what it's called. Now I found I got like 30 or 40 people already signed up for that. Let's see if I can find the actual landing page. And by the way, the ChatGPT for speakers has changed things. I mean, it has revolutionized the business, because to get speaking, and maybe you guys are aware of this, maybe you're not. Oftentimes there's a request for proposal where you put in a 2 or 3 sentence summary of your talk and a 2 or 3 paragraph summary of your talk. And then you put in 5 learning objectives, 3 action items. And the great thing about ChatGPT is you can put in your website and the potential client's website, and Chat will look for commonalities. So when it spits it out, those learning objectives, it spits out problems they have that you can solve. So the request for a proposal is very much tailored to each client, not just here's my generic description of my talk, here's my generic 5 action items, 5 learning objectives. It's aimed directly. And then what you can do is have a generic keynote, and before you go speak to SHRM, you go back in and you ask Chat, okay, now make this relevant to SHRM. And again, you put in their website, maybe their website for the event. So it's not only specific to them, but specific to that particular event. That's the beauty of ChatGPT. And I used to take me an hour to fill out a request for proposal. I can knock one out under 15 minutes. I can do quite a few more. Here's the Keynote Cash Quick Start Challenge, free. There'll be a question every day, 5 days. Kimberly and I'll probably do it on video, make it fun. We'd love to have you play along. And Sherry's right. I coach speakers. I'm not cheap, but you get more than you pay for. And my deal is I'll work with you until your speaking career is where you want it to be, or we both die trying. So it's not like a 12-month program or 18-month program. If you said to me, Frank, I want 3 speaking gigs a month at $5,000 or better plus travel. That's our goal. So we work together until you get there. So, and I have clients call me later and say, they asked me to do 2 days in a row. What do I charge? So it doesn't even end there. If you have a question, you don't know how to price it. And I would say, well, you charge full price first day, half price second day. So it's an ongoing relationship because I want to make sure you're happy. I couldn't leave you at a year and you're not where you want to be. I couldn't sleep nights. So we work until if I die, then, well, I'm, pretty much over. And 2 of my clients, by the way, only 2 out of everybody I've ever talked to said, Frank, yeah, that whole, until I'm happy with my speaking career, that sounds really good. But I want a separate clause in that contract that says you won't kill yourself before I get my speaking career where I want to be. All right, if you insist.
Perfect finish. Thank you so much, everybody. Let's share our love. And the next person that we have coming is perfect segue from Frank, because Frank does the big TEDx stages, the big coaching, and Susan, who's going to come up and do kind of our lunch and learn, she does a lot of local gigs. Some of the smaller stuff, the things that, if you have a full-time job and you're not ready for the 3 gigs a month for $5,000, at least get your keynote ready, because then maybe next year you'll be ready for what Frank's talking about. So thank you again so much. I did not schedule a break between Frank and Susan. I know, because this is like the lunch and learn. So it's okay to be off camera and do whatever it is that you want to do. Anybody has any last minute things for Frank as he segues out and Susan segues in, but thank you so much, Frank. Oh, always.
One last note, don't give up your day job. Let your day job be a life support system for your speaking, because, speaking part-time job until it's a full-time job. And think about this. Are there many part-time jobs where you can work for 45 minutes and make $5,000? I don't think so.
I did want to say, Frank, I'm so happy that I got on before you left, and I've been taking feverish notes. The thing about the ChatGPT is just so amazing. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to use it for the first time. So thank you so much.
ChatGPT 4.
4 is the best one for that. Okay.
Yeah, pay the $20 a month. You can do it month to month. That's the one that allows you to put in the websites and PDFs and all sorts of.
Okay, thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome.